AJ, my man, absolute pleasure to have you on, CEO ProLine. I've watched your journey. I saw you guys in the beginning. I've seen the evolution. Now I'm seeing all these roofing contractors enjoy the benefits of your hard work and dedication. And someone from the tech side, man, I know that developing of software of any level is difficult. And then a CRM it's a long journey with lots of ups and downs. But hey, you guys have kept the roofer in mind and focused on the features that they need most, and now they're reaping the reward. So thanks for joining us today, man.
Absolutely, Nick. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You truly were there at the beginning. I remember coming on your podcast before, and I remember there's a couple calls that we got after that from your listeners, and they ended up signing up for ProLine.
Let's go.
PowerLine at the time, and we still have them today. They're
Wow.
some of our most loyal, dedicated customers that have driven and given amazing feedback. And one of them just the other day transitioned onto the full CRM platform from the old legacy platform. So super excited. That's always a little nerve-wracking because it's a big jump going from just an automation platform to a full CRM platform. But I was super excited to bring them over.
Hey, I love stories like that though, man. That's why we do that. That's why we put out the content every single week to make sure that the contractors out there who need tools like ProLine are able to learn about them, access them, and they get in touch with you guys and really just, like I said, reap the rewards of the systems and what they can do for the company. Now, I want to talk about that. I thought that'd be a good starting point too. What you mentioned is that evolution, right? So you guys started out as an automation tool, and then you developed the idea, the concept, or however you guys looked at it. And you're like, hey, we need to go full-fledged CRM, and then we're going to have those automation tools inside of it. What was that process like?
Yeah, I'll try to make this story brief, but I'll start. I got to start at the beginning, and that is working with my co-founder, John Delorier. I was his marketing manager. I was working in his business, and he kept coming to me and being like, hey man, like I'm struggling with responding to new leads. I'm struggling with sales follow-up. I'm struggling with staying on top of my quotes. I just don't have enough time in the day. And if I hire somebody at this point in my business to do all that, I'm not going to be making any profit. So he was between a rock and a hard place. And so I patchworked together an automation system because there was nothing else out there at the time that could do what we needed to do in his business. So we patched something together with Zapier and MailChimp and Twilio and all this stuff and just made it work. And it ended up almost doubling his close rate over the few months after we launched that.
Wow.
So that was the first kind of like light bulb moment of, oh, wow, if you have good automation in place, it can absolutely transform a business. And so that's what led to PowerLine, launching PowerLine as a software platform. And that's last time I was on your previous show. That's what we had taken what we had done in John's business for automation around sales follow-up and lead response and review generation as well. Those are really the big three. And then we packaged it up so that other contractors could use it as well and launched it as its own software platform. And that had a lot of good success and a lot of companies signed up for that. And what we were really doing is filling the hole that existed in all the existing CRM platforms, which is communication. The existing CRM platforms, ironically, CRM stands for customer relationship management, were terrible at managing the customer relationship because they didn't have any integrated communication tools. No integrated phone numbers, no integrated texting. The integrated emails were very basic and boilerplate, and you couldn't customize them. They're just coming from some ugly address. And so we filled that hole with PowerLine. Now, the downside, and this is where we decided to make the transition, is that integrating our platform in with the existing CRM platforms was extraordinarily hard and took an immense amount of work to onboard companies. And then once they were onboarded, it took a lot of work to maintain that connection because the CRM platforms, they have very basic APIs and there's a lot of data that we need on the automation side to actually send good automations that push the ball down the field and not accidentally ask someone, hey, do you still want to use us after they've already signed their quote? We need all that data on the automation side. And so what we realized eventually is this can't be two separate platforms. It doesn't scale. it doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint, and it's too much of a hassle to have for the contractors to be managing this separate platform for communication while also this other platform where they're managing their data and their quoting and stuff like that. So we just realized we didn't want to have to do this. We would have much rather had kept it separate, but we got backed into a corner where we had to decide, are we just going to stay this little tiny automation company, or do we want to continue to grow? And to continue to grow, we have to become a full CRM platform, which was 10 times as complex as what we were trying to do before. But we were looking at the market and seeing the options out there and realizing not only do these options not have good automations, but they're also dropping the ball in a lot of other areas as well. And I don't want to trash talk specific competitors. They're all doing their best and trying to serve contractors as well. But the realities are what the realities are. And we were seeing there's holes in their offerings across the board, not just automation. And so we've been systematically filling those holes and building out our full CRM platform. We launched as a CRM last August, and there was definitely holes on our end as well that we've been now filling. But where we're at right now is we can go head to head with pretty much any other CRM platform in the roofing space on most of the functionality in the platform. And then we also still have our original automation system, built-in phone numbers, built-in communication, and other automation all built into the same platform as well. So we have both bases covered, and it's only up from here. We're still developing extremely quickly.
Well, congrats on the year. With it being August now, man, congratulations on that and all success. I'll go on any Facebook group whenever anybody's asking about CRMs. It seems like there's 50 people recommending ProLine. That's a good thing to see. So congrats on that. And like you're saying, the basic API can be a major issue. So the API is basically going to be what allows you to connect your current CRM to any other kind of software, make sure that data flows or whatever it might be. And so when there are issues with that integration, and it is sad that other CRMs out there do not have good integration capabilities, it's going to cause a lot of problems for the roofing contractor, right? Because you could spend all day trying to fix an integration problem. That, right, AJ? Literally, you could spend 20, and then all of a sudden that time you're saving is evaporating. So I like the move for sure. Now, you mentioned a few things. Like, I heard definitely automation and things like that when you're talking about some of the gaps that you guys wanted to fill with what you're seeing in the marketplace. But what would you say are like the biggest challenges that you guys are trying to solve and are solving for current contractors in the roofing space that is just like, wow, this is making an impact, and this is why I pulled all those all-nighters?
Yeah. It does in many ways still come back to the automation. Sometimes we joke, John and I joke, and we're like, we literally built a CRM to sell automation because it was hard to sell the automation on its own. And that's really, we've built amazing features in the actual CRM. That's absolutely not some sort of afterthought, but
and we'll talk about those later, like the quoting tools,
we'll talk about
stuff
that.
Like that. Yeah.
But still, at the end of the day, the things that make the difference are the automations. We hear from and the reason you're seeing so many companies talk about us in the groups is because all those companies, they've come over to our platform, they've implemented all of the automated sales follow-up, automated review generation, automated lead response, and they've seen how ProLine, when it's all integrated together, is able to sell more jobs for them. And that's, at the end of the day, we have a lot of things that we're trying to do with our CRM that are different. We're trying to keep things very simple. We have a lot of support, but I'd say what it really all comes back to is how do we help contractors sell more jobs? How do we help them to compete in their market without having to spend more time? Because that's the key, is there's only so much time in the day. So the answer is not, oh, you need to be following up on your jobs, because most people are not just sitting around all day. They're working. It's just that they're busy. They don't have time to follow up on their jobs. They don't have time.
I'll tell you one thing is, if I have a to-do list, and let's say there's 12 things I have to get done in that one particular day, you know what goes to the very bottom? Follow up.
Yeah.
Not good.
Follow up. And then lead response too also goes out the window. If you're busy working with customers, you're just not going to see that new lead come in. And every second that new lead sits there without getting contacted is another another drop in the likelihood that they're going to respond to you and book an appointment. And so it's what our customers see is that once they transfer over and they actually have a system that has all those automations built in for the communication built in. And we can also talk about how we're able to send automations that don't look or feel automated, which is also a big differentiator for us. But when they have that implemented, they actually sell more jobs. And that's at the end of the day, like how fancy your CRM platform is doesn't matter unless it actually helps you to sell more work and to have less stress in your life. And that's what we do for customers. And that's what every time we're building a new feature, we're thinking about that. How do we help our contractors to sell more jobs and build a business with less stress? And so it just all comes back to that.
100%. And it's one of those things where business is really all about fundamentals, right? We like to complicate things. And I don't know if we want to be sexy or we want to be intelligent, or maybe it's our ego in the way, but it's really the fundamentals. And I think follow-up, lead response times, right? It's almost just it's like Michael Jordan. I think he started every practice with bounce passes, right? Did the absolute basics. So what you really want to focus on is in your business is these fundamental things that can make everything change for you. If you increase your response times to your new leads, contractors are not good at communication. I guarantee you your close rate and the amount of estimates or proposals you're getting out is going to skyrocket. And I'll tell you this, I learned follow-up when I was 17 years old. In the summertime, I'd sell cars. And my manager told me one time I was having a bad month, and he said, just follow up with some people. I literally called one person and followed up with them. They came in, they bought a car. They were excited to hear from me. Maybe you just need to send a reminder, right? You just have to be top of mind. But if you can automate this stuff, oh my God, why wouldn't you be doing it? And you guys even have like templates, right? So you guys have some templates built out that people can utilize?
Oh yeah, we have. So one of the things we love about ProLine is how customizable it is. But at the same time, when you go and create a ProLine account, everything's ready to go for you from day one. Now you can go in and make it your own, which is awesome. We recommend that, but you don't have to. You can go in there, create an account, sign up, get things like put leads in, and you can have messages that have sold millions of dollars in roofing for other contractors going out to your past leads and following up with them. And like you're saying, it's so critical because I think a lot of salespeople, contractors, but just salespeople in general, get in their head about sales follow-up. And they're like, oh, I don't want to bother them. If they wanted to buy from me, they'd tell me. That's not how your prospects are thinking. The reality is they're not thinking about you. They're busy. They have lives. There's just a lot going on. And most people live their life just addressing the most immediate thing that's right in front of them. And so it is, and also like you're thinking about them all the time, but they're not thinking about you all the time. So when you follow up, for them, like they haven't been thinking about you at all, probably for days or weeks or however long it's been since you followed up. So they're not going to be annoyed at you. And but the 1 out of every 20 that is, they're not your customer anyway. Person that's going to buy from you anyway. So it's so critical, to be following up.
The thing is, a lot of customers aren't hearing back from their contractors, and that's what they're getting frustrated about, right? So they need this service to get done. They need a new roof. Maybe they have damage. Maybe it's old. Maybe it's storm work, whatever it might be, right? But the thing is when they're looking at their priorities for the day, just like I was talking about before, when my follow-up goes all the way to the bottom, their new roof that they have to figure out is just something that's at the bottom of the list. Because let's be honest, it's a pain. They don't really want to deal with it, but they know it has to be done. And they have to do all the shopping around, whatever it might be. And if you're someone who is actually communicating and showing them a professional client experience and staying in touch, not just to close the deal, but throughout the process, they're not going to be mad at all. They're not going to be mad at all. I remember when we remodeled our house, we hired an electrician. The guy just never even showed up. He'd show up one day, doesn't show up the next day. We get him back. I'll tell you one thing. My dad would have been a lot happier if he just kept hearing from that dude. You can stand out by following up.
So easily. So easily.
So,
and then then
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
No,
Go ahead.
please.
No, man, take it. This is all about
I
you
was gonna
guys.
say, I was gonna say, not only you're absolutely right, not only standing out, but the kind of we can address the objection here to follow up. So the next objection after that is I don't have the time. It's like, okay, automate it, automate it. And ProLine's not the only way you can automate it. We're the only CRM platform that allows you to automate it, but the only CRM platform built for roofers specifically that allows you to automate it. But there's other solutions. So automate it. That's the next level. And you don't have to automate all of it. You can always still call people manually as well, but the first level. And then the next level after that, the next objection is if I automate it, then people are going to be able to tell it's automated and they're going to get pissed off that I'm sending them automated messages. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's very acceptable, especially if you are sending really cheesy templated follow-up messages that are being sent from a random phone number that they don't recognize or a random email they don't recognize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to annoy more people and they're less likely to respond. But that's another thing that we've solved with ProLine is because the phone system, your day-to-day phone system that you use, the same phone numbers that are going on your business cards and that your sales reps are using as their phone that they give to customers, we're automating messages through those numbers. Mm-hmm. So it does not look, and we're also automating emails through their individual work emails.
Which is
the messages don't look automated, like it was typed out by hand by the sales rep. And it's another kind of important differentiator where ProLine's automations are just that much more effective, even than other systems that have automations.
So if I have a sales guy and he's using ProLine, right? So he's going to get a phone number. They can call, text, all that kind of stuff from inside ProLine, right?
Yeah. So we do have a plan without a phone system now, because the reality is like if people are always like, why does it cost so much for the phone system? If you went to Verizon and got 5 phones, how much would it cost you there? And then deduct that, and then all of a sudden we're the cheapest CRM on the block. But
I'll be honest, on the phone system though, I'm surprised about how many contractors are okay with not having all that stuff integrated into the CRM. Because even for me, when I'm just trying to get my sales team going, like I want everything in one centralized location where I can have call, text, email, all that kind of stuff, and I can track all that kind of communication. And if anybody wants to jump in, they can see the whole track record of what's going on. And for me, it just makes sense. And I think more contractors should prioritize things like that, where it is worth the cost.
Having it so that, because I think a lot of contractors will relate to this, where you're talking to one of your customers, and then all of a sudden they're like, so-and-so told me X, and turns out so-and-so texted them from their personal cell number. There's no record of that anywhere. And maybe that person also has quit by now. He's moved on to somewhere else. So you can't even follow
think
up
about
with
the
them to get
turnover
that.
of salespeople, right? And so don't you want to track record all of that kind of stuff? And like you're saying, he says, she says, right now you're playing this game with customers, you're playing it with whoever it might be, the salesperson internally. If you can track this stuff, anything that you can track is going to be a win. And anything that you're relying on manual entry or people putting notes down and stuff like that, I wouldn't be super hopeful about a strategy like that.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing: you don't have to use ProLine. I just don't know of anyone else any other system that allows you to do this, so that you can be tracking all those text messages, you can be recording all your calls, and having that all automatically logged in the CRM for record. And I just don't know another system that does it. I would love to say, oh, we're not the only ones doing this, but yeah, it makes sense. The thing is, it's really hard to do. It's hard to build a system that can have all that integrated together. So I think that's the barrier, and that's why most companies don't have it. But it's super important to be, because the only other alternative is you really have to be staying on top of your sales team to be manually logging all that communication.
But you never want to have to try to stay on top of people, because I'll just tell you one thing: they get busy, everybody gets busy, peak season's about us, right? As a salesperson, I remember I loved working for Milwaukee Tool, but I remember I would be hitting accounts all day and I'd be back at the hotel tracking my notes, putting in what I did and stuff like that. It was the worst part of the job. Salespeople hate that stuff, right? And let's be real, if you make a CRM where it's actually like more work for your sales team, they're gonna go, "Oh, I hate my CRM." And I don't know how many salespeople that I talk to that hate their CRM. They dread it, right? But it should be an asset for them. It should be one of those things where it's like, "Hey, you're gonna come work for me at blah 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 roofing company, and we got this set up for you. Look how much easier this is gonna make your life." Think how well you can document your stuff to make sure that you're more successful. It's whenever you're onboarding somebody, or you could even, if you're a roofing contractor, talk to your salesperson, ask them what they think about the CRM, how they like using it. And that will give you honest feedback of some things you might have to think about doing. And I think ProLine can offer a lot of those different features they might be missing out on.
Yeah, I'll say this, like, we're not perfect. If you go talk to every sales rep on ProLine, I'm sure you're going to find some sales reps that don't like us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the nature of the beast when it comes to CRMs.
100%. 100%.
I will say we have a lot of sales reps that love ProLine because it makes their job easier. It legitimately, there's less data entry for them. They're able to easily track everything going on. So if their manager stepped in and sent a message, they can see that. And then they also, they have every sales rep has full control of their automations for their projects. So not only is it automating a lot of that drudgery activity that a sales rep usually has to do, but they also have control over it. There's transparency to them. But
that's a differentiator for sure. So if any salesperson has a different type of style or approach, whatever it might be, and they believe in it, they can update their automations to fit their workflows and style.
Yeah, and it was more specifically on an individual project basis. So if there's an upcoming follow-up automation, but then that homeowner told the sales rep, "Hey, I'm out of town for the next 2 weeks," the sales rep can go in and say, "Okay, don't follow up next Friday, follow up 2 weeks from now." Or they can go in and change the
stuff
message
like that too. So it's, hey, basically, we already know this, skip this automation or whatever it might be.
Yep. Or change what the message says. So they can change it. The admins will control like the base that everything's based off of, but then the sales rep can go in and customize on the fly for each project. I was going to say that one thing that I've heard now multiple times from our customers, and this is like a secondary benefit with ProLine, is when they're going out and hiring sales reps, they'll actually show the sales reps ProLine and show them, and because they're trying to hire often guys from other companies that have worked in roofing before, so they've used all the CRM platforms, and they will show them ProLine and be like, "Oh, if you work with us, all your follow-ups automated. Here's what it looks like. If you work with us, you're going to have all this transparency. You don't never have to log a text message again. You have to use your personal cell numbers. You don't have to worry about people hitting you up on the weekend that are work customers. It's all through the app." It's really a selling point that helps them to get better sales talent, because they're able to say, "Oh, we do so much more than what you've ever experienced with other companies and other CRM platforms."
See, yes, it's a tool, right? It's a tool where you can actually recruit people and say, "Hey, this is all the stuff that we invest in to make sure that you're going to be successful. And we want to make sure that you're saving time and not wasting your energy on things that you don't like doing. We know that you love being in front of the client, right? Having opportunities to close more deals, build relationships. And that's what we allow you to do. And we'll make sure that tools like ProLine and other systems that we utilize are going to make sure that your job is easier and takes the load off you." How's that sound? And that's great. It's funny because I actually had a buddy that I was talking to. He worked for this company. It was B2B sales. It wasn't in the space. They've been around for 40 years. And when I checked him out, his CRM, dude, it looked like it was, I don't even know how to say it. Like, it was so bad, man. It was one of the worst setups that I've ever seen. And it was so complicated. And he couldn't really even figure out what was going on. Like, and I'm like, man. And so unfortunately, he ended up getting laid off. And so we're growing our sales team, and I was like, hey, if you're interested, I know your dog, and I know you like to get at it. And so I showed him our system, and we've been in business for a year, and I got everything dialed in, dude. And I got 12,000 leads in there with mobile numbers and everything like that, right? And he was blown away. And it just shows the difference that you can make when you really take care of that stuff, because it shows your sales team that you're serious about their success in your company. It really does. Hey, I wanted to ask you too, to just give some golden nuggets that people can take away on the automation side, because even if they get the system, I think they're still confused of what automation set up, what to say, stuff like that. So could you run us through like an example where it's like, all right, hey, a lead comes in. Do I do an automation? What do I say? Is it a text? Is it an email? Blah, blah, blah. And go through that process from like lead coming in, getting generated, to closing out the job.
Yeah, absolutely. So the top 3 things that you want to automate, and there's unlimited things that you can automate. So you can really go crazy with it. But the top 3 things that you definitely want to automate is 1, lead response, your speed to lead. So that requires integrating with whatever automation system you're using, integrating that with your lead sources, with your website, with any landing pages. If you're using Facebook ads, with the Facebook lead forms, you integrate it out, and that it can get a little technical. This is one of the more technical automation aspects. But if you have whoever's running your ads or whoever's managing your website should be more than capable of setting something like this up if you give them access to your automation platform or ProLine or whatever it is. And so that's super critical, because that's going to increase the percentage of the leads that become appointments. And those messages, it's texts and emails. We've tested a ton of different things. We've tested voicemail drops. We've tested different channels. And at the end of the day, it's text and email. Those are the 2 most effective, and those are the ones you want to hit every time. And the thing is, just email or just text is less than half as effective as putting both together. When you put both together and you send an email and a text at around the same time, maybe a few seconds apart, the overall open rate of both of those combined is greater than the parts, because if they're getting a text message from you, they're more likely to open your email, and vice versa.
Speed to lead is a huge thing too, right? Because that's a big thing. I saw that. I was just looking up some stats on that. The likelihood of reaching shoppers within 5 minutes is 10 times higher than if you were to let 10 minutes elapse. So just think about that. Literally, it's like minutes, right? I saw 82% of consumers expect responses within 10 minutes.
So the thing is, you want to hit them before they've even left the page that they submitted on. If you can do that, it's a game changer, because then there's a smooth transition from filling out the form to communicating with you and your team. And I'm happy to give some examples of those messages.
Yeah, and real quick, if you don't respond, what do you think they're doing? Do you think they're just sitting there just waiting for you? Like, they're looking at other people. They're going back on Google, they're looking at more reviews, and they're filling out more forms, or they're calling more people, whatever it is. And you can think you're all great and whatnot, and you might be a great contractor, but they're still going to be shopping around. If you can just hit them right away, they might even stop that process if they start having a good experience. Because if I'm shopping for something online and all of a sudden I have a good experience with a potential person I want to work with, I can stop my shop because I don't want to spend more time looking around. I'm like, I might already have a winner.
Yep.
But yeah, some examples would be great.
Yeah. The thing with all 3 of it's speed to lead, sales follow-up, and review requests, and we'll talk about those other 2 here in a second. But for all of it, it's way better to have the automations than for the automations to be than what they say, because it's top of mind, like you're talking about before. Just the act for speed to lead specifically, just the act of sending them something immediately greatly increases your likelihood to book that into an appointment and end up sending them a quote, regardless of what you say. Now, and so I say that to say our templates that have sold millions of dollars in roofing are not rocket science. Like, they're fairly straightforward. Some of them are Some of them actually do the things you're not supposed to do. Like in some of our follow-up messages, for example, it's, hey, I'd like to follow up with you about that quote we sent. And that's like a no. If you search like how to follow up, you never say following up.
Never use the word follow up. Yeah.
Which is, yeah, ideally you wouldn't, right?
Mhm.
Ideally every message would be custom tailored and it would mention their dog's name. But the reality is just having it in place, having those automations in place will net you 10 times more results than if you don't have them in place because you're overthinking what the messages say.
Mhm.
So an example of speed to lead, our speed to lead templates are very simple. They just say something along the lines of, hey, thank you for filling out the form on our website and for expressing interest in our service. When it depends on what your next objective is. If you're trying to schedule for them for an appointment, then the messages will often say, when would be a good time this week to come by for an appointment? And the conversation started, so then you can call them and you can finalize that date and time. We are actually working on internal booking pages for ProLine, so you can just send a link and then they can pick their time, pick a time and a date and time for their appointment, but we don't have that quite yet. But it's super simple. Thank them for filling out the form and then ask them a question that directs them down towards the next point in the sales process.
So basically,
Super
show
simple.
appreciation, keep it simple, don't overcomplicate the messaging. And I think you can tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like usually more concise, the better. Don't tell your whole life story. And then a call to action.
Oh, yeah. Super simple and concise. Yeah, absolutely. I do see some companies will put like a link to a YouTube video about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a nice touch, but you don't
Is that
don't
in
want
the
to give
email
like
or
your
the
whole
SMS
story.
or both? Something like
In
a
the
YouTube-
both.
Both.
I've seen it in both. It depends on the company, but that's not something we have in our default templates, but they might add, oh, and by the way, if you want to know more about us, here's a link to a video.
Yeah. I
But
do like the video concept though, just like showing face and whatnot.
I agree. I think it's good if you have a video you can point to. But to your point, conciseness, that's good. What's not good is being like, oh, we don't have a video, so let's put half of our about page in this message. That's not good.
I
So
do, man.
simple is
People
better.
don't like reading long emails and stuff like that either. You know, and they really don't care. They care about, can you fix their problem? They don't really care about your whole story or whatnot. So, but a video, I'd rip a video, right? I'll watch a quick video. I have it on the background or something like that. See some face. So if you got a good video, and I think everybody should do that too. Honestly, like I've even heard salespeople, whatnot, having like their own personalized videos that they can send people. Anything that you kind of just keep building that rapport even before you meet them, I think is a good touch.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the number one way we recommend people customize out our templates is like add in the kind of those custom, and talking about the sales reps. So like we have that capability in ProLine. So you can send like a customized link to a video from the sales rep.
Mm-hmm.
Now that takes some work to set up. You gotta film all the sales reps and upload them to YouTube and all that, but
it's
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's worth it for sure. All right, so we got lead coming in. All right, we're gonna hit him with an email. We're gonna hit him with a SMS. We're gonna keep it simple. We're gonna thank them and have a call to action. Maybe throw in there a little video if you got something that's, A+, looks good. What about follow up now?
Yeah, so I'll briefly make the transition here. So generally, you're gonna book them for an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have some automated reminders leading up to their appointment, and then that's an opportunity to warm up the lead. It's not one of the big three, but there's that. Then
how much
after
do you think
the appointment,
reminders help with? Obviously, we probably see it more, but just like getting ghosted or them not being there or having to reschedule. How much do you think that stuff helps?
I would say it's massive. Now,
Yeah.
like I think for you and I, we're usually doing sales interactions over, like our teams are doing sales interactions on Zoom. So it's absolutely essential then. A lot of times for roofing, you might not even need them to be there, depending on how you like to run your sales process. Some contractors, they're okay with the homeowner not even being there when they go and measure the roof.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a little less essential, but if you do want them to be there, because part of your sales process is that human-to-human connection, then it's definitely essential because people forget. Most people do not manage their calendars. And if you're not reminding them leading up to that appointment, they're probably going to forget. And it's their home, so they're more likely to be there than not. But still, you're running a lot of risk. And you're missing out on an opportunity to nurture that lead leading up to that interaction.
I mean, for me, and I don't know if you see this, I'm always amazed at how people don't even accept a calendar invite. Like when we send one for a meeting, which in my mind, I'm like, if they don't accept it, what's the likelihood that they're going to remember or this is actually going to be a priority? And so if you were like, would you care if the property owner was there, if you were a contractor for your sales process or no?
I would. I think that, yeah, I'm all about technology. Obviously, I'm a technology guy, but I've just seen this over and over again. John and I, in his business, was Delory Roofing, now it's Peach Roofing. We tried so many times to try to find ways of digitizing and making the sales process completely like remote, where we didn't have to do any in-person inspections or anything like that. And yeah, there's a ton of technology that makes that possible when it's necessary. But what we found is that when he started trying to implement that stuff, his close rate dropped substantially. So it depends. Like do you want to have a high close rate? Do you want to close the majority of your jobs? Because if so, that human to human connection for this service, you're going to be working on their home. It's an in-person service. It doesn't matter how tech savvy of a country or of an age that we're in. People are going to expect, and they're more likely to go with and this is for all age groups, not just like the older age group. They're more likely to go with the contractor that showed up that they met and they shook hands with.
Exactly.
You
mentioned close rate too, right? So for me, if I was a contractor, I'd actually worry less about the number of leads I'm generating and focus more on increasing my close rate, right? How can I get better at closing the leads that are coming in? And then once that process is refined, then you can generate more leads. But then the thing is whatever time, money, energy you're spending on those leads, you're closing more of them. So your ROI per lead's going up. So you want to fix that, then you can feed the beast, if you will.
100%. Totally agree. And that's where sales follow-up comes into play a lot more. I'd say even before sales follow-up is have an amazing proposal. And so we've worked really hard on our quoting system in ProLine. And I would put it head to head with every single other quoting system on the market right now. We put a lot of work into it. It's extremely robust and customizable, beautiful multi-page, multi-option PDFs. And
it looks great.
I appreciate that. So we're continuing to refine it, but having that amazing proposal is just another step of that, another piece of communication that's going to increase your close rate, where you're giving them lots of information about your company, lots of information about your offerings, so that they're going to look at that, and then they're going to look at the one-page quote that came from some other contractor that was scribbled out on paper. Who are they more likely to go with? Now, if there's enough of a price difference, they may still go with that quote. That's the unfortunate reality. But if you can keep your margins at a conservative level and you can stay relatively competitive on price, which is its own kind of balance, and then also have all of that communication and the beautiful quote and the experience weighing down your side of the scales, then yeah, you're going to close than that other contractor is going to.
Even for me, I spend days and days and days of my time on our proposals, our sales presentations, lead magnets, literally anything that our customers interact with. And I want it to look super well done, super professional. And because for me, I'm like, all right, when they look at that, maybe they're thinking, okay, so if they take this kind of stuff so serious and make sure this stuff looks so great, what are they going to do for me in my business? It's almost like the way you show up and present yourself, right? Do you look like, hey, professional, and you're going to take care of them, your car's clean, whatever it might be, right? The way you show up. And then all of a sudden you whip out these sales tools. Do they play the part too? Right? There's a certain character you want to play as a contractor, especially if you're looking for the high value jobs, right? Rather than just selling on price.
100%. You're going to be able to justify. There's limits, unfortunately, especially with how material prices are right now. But it is, you absolutely are going to be able to justify a higher price if you can provide that great experience and that great presentation.
100%.
And then, so yeah, once you send that quote, the sales follow-up, that's where it becomes absolutely essential. And here's the thing, like our recommendation, like in a perfect world, you would have automated sales follow-up by text and email, and then you would also follow up by calling.
That's so true, yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's not, our position is not automate 100% of your sales follow-up. Now, you might get really busy at some points where you can't do any manual follow-up, and that's okay, because you can rely on the automation sometimes when you have to. But best case is to also supplement it with those things that can't be automated, like calls.
Mm-hmm.
But that having those automations in place are going to drastically increase your close rate. Now, immediately, sales follow-up has two effects on close rate. There's an immediate effect on close rate just by keeping you top of mind, by providing consistent follow-up for all your current prospects. But what we see, and this is super cool to see with companies that have been with ProLine now for a year plus, is they are getting to the point where not only are they reaping the benefits of the immediate sales follow-up, but they also have some prospects, because you're never going to close 100%. They have these prospects that went into the sales follow-up a year ago and were like, hey, they kind of drug their feet. They never ended up doing the work. And ProLine, because ProLine isn't a human, it can do this indefinitely. It's been consistently following up. Now, of course, it's not following up every day or every week. It's following up like once a month, maybe. Mm-hmm. But it's been following up for now a year plus. And so they're continuing to close at a high close rate on their current jobs because of the sales follow-up. And then they're also closing some jobs from previous years. And so they're growing that close rate even more, and they're growing their business even faster, because it starts to become a snowball effect where you're not only closing really effectively on your current opportunities, but you're also then continuing to reap benefits from old opportunities that didn't immediately close.
Because those leads go to the dead. Because let's be for real, those leads go to the dead. So you spend all this time, money, energy generating all these leads. There's probably hundreds of them that go to die, right? They get marked as lost, whatever it might be, and then they go to die. They go to their sad grave. Let's say you have 100 leads that are sitting in this sad grave, and they get a once a month follow up, and every year you somehow close 5 of those, right? You close 5 of those, and let's say it's a 20 grand pop. Boom, 100 grand. Right there. Yeah. So that was literally 100 grand that literally you did absolutely nothing. Congratulations on all your hard work. But you had the tool set up, and they just magically almost just gave you 100 grand.
Yep.
That kind of shows what the power is.
Oh, yeah. No, it's incredible. The thing is, here's the thing. It does not make sense to manually follow up on those leads.
No one will.
We're not trying to say like anyone's doing a bad job. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it literally would be a waste of time for someone to manually go back and follow up with those old opportunities. But if you have a system that can do it for you.
If I get ghosted or a person tells me no, right, and I follow up maybe 3 times, 4 times, dude, if I don't have an automation set up, I will never reach out to that individual again. There's no way. With the amount of things people have to do, doesn't matter what role they're in. No, it ain't happening.
Yeah,
it ain't happening.
It's just not practical.
No, it just doesn't make sense. It's too hard to build a process around it, right? Here's my bucket to follow up with this person every month. No, absolutely not. All right.
Yeah.
Well, for the follow-up, do you have a recommendation then for, let's say you send a quote on, is it a day after, 3 days after, boom, or is it set it up as you like, or what?
Yeah, so we'll go look at a couple examples. I actually think the follow-up starts with how you send the quote.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something really awesome that's an advantage with how ProLine is set up and that the quoting is built into it now, is that when you send the quote from ProLine, it goes out by both text message and email, not just email, because people often don't see email, or it goes to spam, or anything can happen with email. It goes by text message and email. In both messages, both of them have a link that they can click and view and sign the quote. Nice. And so that's the first follow-up. And in that message, you definitely want to put any customized notes in there, but it definitely needs to say, hey, let me know if you have any questions. Keep it simple, but you need to thank you for the opportunity. Here's the quote. Let me know if you have any questions. Then our default templates will wait a day. So we'll wait 24 hours before the first follow-up. And then from there, we do odd numbers on follow-ups, and it goes, there's 1 day for the first follow-up, then it's 3 days, then it's 5 days, and then 7 days, and then 9 days. So we just increase the amount of time between follow-ups by staying at odd numbers. And that's the way all our default templates are set up. And then
so it'll slowly 1 day and then 3 days after, then 5 days after. Is that what you're saying basically? Or day 1, day 3, day 5?
The first one. So you're waiting a day, following up,
cool. Okay.
Then waiting 3 days, and then following up. So the way that generally looks is if you send the quote on a Monday, then they're getting followed up the first time on a Tuesday. And then the next follow-up is coming Wednesday, Thursday, like Friday.
Yeah, I like that.
And so that's generally the breakdown there. And that's how our default templates are set up. And then again, the messages here they're super simple and concise. Like we do recommend, and we have the default templates set up. Some of them like point to the Google My Business. It's like, hey, have you checked out our reviews? And those can be customized. I think it is nice to put some customer reviews in some of those follow-ups. Say, here, I thought you might like to read what so-and-so said about our services. Put that in the email. Not the text message, but the email.
I like that. And then custom values, right? So you're going to be like, hi, Nick, right?
Yep.
Stuff like that to personalize it a little bit.
100%. We call them variables. Here's a tip. Now, we don't do this with our base templates. All our base templates are very well vetted. Like we've eliminated all the typos and stuff over time. So they're simple and they're concise, but they don't have like errors in them. But we've had a couple customers, the users of ProLine, that they figured out that if they go back and add typos into the templates, the follow-ups actually do better. They get more responses because they look even less automated than they already did with ProLine.
I think I've seen something like that, but I've never actually used that. I might have to start using that. What about something like if I did like thanks, where I did like THX or something like that? Text, you know what I mean? Something like that. You think that would really have the same feel, maybe?
100%. Yeah, I think it's when people see something that's super formatted, they immediately assume it's automated. The more formatted and squared away it is, and this is something else we do at ProLine. It's a little different than other platforms. Most email automations from other platforms have nice colored borders and the formatting. It was typed by hand. And that's the way our emails are sent from ProLine intentionally. But yeah, even then, if it's super formal, they may still assume that it's automated. And so being more casual like that, doing the TH.
What about my email signature? I think I have a sexy email signature. Is that okay?
That's all right. Right? Yeah. The email. So right now we don't support yet. It's something that we will support later, like super fancy HTML email signatures in ProLine.
Yeah.
But I think you can get away with that because people know that's built in. Yeah. That's built into emails. People know that. Cool. People are aware of that. So that's safe.
I'm always wondering about that little kind of stuff. But yeah, so don't make it too sexy. Don't give it too much curb appeal where it looks like it is a template.
Yeah. It's your automations specifically for email, text. This doesn't apply to text, but specifically for email. If it doesn't look like you typed it by hand, it's going to perform worse. There is no pretty design that you can possibly make that is going to increase the conversions that you get from emails.
Is better though? Is shorter? Or am I wrong on that? Because that's what I just assumed. Is that not correct? Because if it's not, tell me.
There's on the length. Text messages it has to be short. So if you're going to send a longer email, and I keep saying email and text because all of our templates, we send emails and text together every time. And we send an email and then we send a text a few seconds later. So that's what we recommend for any automated follow-up message. But if your email's longer, because it can be longer, especially if you have context with someone. So like later on in the follow-up campaign, probably not speed to lead, but later on in the follow-up campaign, you can have longer emails that have, like I was saying before, like reviews. It can have educational materials. You do want to still make it very readable, so don't have like massive paragraphs. You want to try to keep paragraphs to 1 to 2 sentences. So just keep it readable, but you can go longer. But the text message, the way we will in all our default templates have the text message set up in those scenarios is it just says, hey, did you get my email? So we don't send anything specific in the text message. We don't try to send a long text message. We just say, hey, did you see my email? Which then they go check their email and they're more likely to open your email.
Because you guys actually, now that I think about it, you guys use long form content on email.
We do. Yeah. I will say there's 2 types of automations, and this is a good thing to clarify. There is one-to-one automation, which is what ProLine does. It's the sales follow-up. It's the lead response. This is an individual person going through a campaign, and each message is just going to them. When they get to that next message, then it goes to them. There's also one-to-many communications, and that's a whole other story. So there's different rules. If you're doing one-to-many emails, where you're not trying to even pretend like it's not automated. People know that they're on a list. They're getting your marketing emails. That's totally okay. You don't need to pretend like those are not automated. You're not going to trick anyone with that. Those, you can have the fancy borders if you want. That's totally fine. As long as the content is it's highly readable. So you don't want to distract anybody. And the content is good and value driven. That's a different story. So those are 2 different things though.
That's a different playbook.
You can run both in parallel. That's the thing is like everything we're talking about with ProLine for like sales follow-up, all of that should be written and structured to look, and we have this set up by default in ProLine, structured to look like it came from their sales rep that they have a relationship with. So it's very personal. Clearly we're automating the one-to-one communication between that sales rep and the prospect. And
usually it just looks like it's coming from the company, I would say, for the most part, with a lot of tools.
Oh yeah. For most tools, they don't differentiate between. So their sales follow-up automations that they have are not a one-to-one because they're obviously automated, and so they're way less effective because they just send it just like they would the one-to-many. 100%. And the one-to-many, you can get away with it, but it's two different tools for 2 different contexts.
So just have 2 different game plans for that, and sometimes they can go hand in hand. But the way you communicate on that one-to-one basis, as if you're that salesperson, versus if you were just sending out information or whatever it might be, it's going to be a different game plan. And then the last one's going to be the reviews.
Oh yeah, reviews. So the best way to get reviews is at the end of the job when you're doing the walkthrough. You do a walkthrough with the customer, and once you've walked through the job with them and they're like, this is awesome, you get them to do a review on the spot, right? That's the number 1 best. The second best is sending a text message and email from the sales rep asking for the review after the job is complete. That can be automated. ProLine can automate that.
I like how it's coming from the salesperson again too. Because it's like, hey, that salesperson already helped you out. Can you help me out now? Almost.
100%. Yeah. So there's a lot of platforms out there, and this is what's crazy about what we offer with ProLine is there's all these platforms out there that charge $500 a month to do review generation.
Oh yeah.
And they're sending it completely anonymized from the company. It doesn't come from the sales rep. It comes from some random phone number, comes from some random email. The conversion rate on that review request is very low, like sub 10%, but most people still do it because they're just happy to get Google reviews. With ProLine, we see it regularly on our review generation campaigns, which are a lot simpler than most of the other platforms. But because it comes from the assigned sales rep where there's already context and it's, hey, can you help me out as the sales rep, I would appreciate it. Like it means a lot to me personally if you would leave a review, because it's set up that way and it's coming from the phone number that the customer already has saved in their phone as the sales rep. Our conversions hover around like 30%, like for review generation. Nice. And it's a very high conversion rate to reviews. And we have campaign's already set up. It asks 5 times. If they respond or if they go to leave the review, then it stops asking. Otherwise, it's going to keep asking 5 times, email and text. And you'll get very high conversion rate.
It's a great feature for sure. And like you're saying, it's funny, dude. It's actually a close story to me, because when I first moved to Denver, I was working at Milwaukee Tool. I quit. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Found a startup company here, software sales, and it generated reviews for companies.
Oh, yeah.
And it was $300 a month, and they had like an AI thing called Mia that was part of the software, but really there was no AI integration into it whatsoever. So first month I'm in President's Club, right? I have one of the most sales in the company. I'm killing it, loving it. Then I start checking into like accounts and stuff like that. Dude, no one's really seeing like that great of results. I start to realize it's overcharging for what its capabilities were, right? So I end up leaving the company. But also another kind of funny story that's not related. When I started the media company, they hired me to do their headshots, dude. So I did like 150 headshots in like, I think an hour they gave me. And I've never taken a headshot in my life, dude. So none of them turned out that great.
That's brutal.
It was funny though, man. It was funny, dude. It's one of those things where it's just like, dude, early on when you first started a business, dude, you're like, man, this is just too hilarious, because some of the stuff you do is just so out of left field. But
say yes to whatever. You got to get things off the ground. You'll say,
yeah. Oh, you need 150 headshots in 60 minutes? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You're just sort of pushing them through.
I'm like, I still can't take a picture to save my life, man. I'll tell you one thing, I can do anything with software, I feel. But man, when it comes to like video and taking photos, dude, I cannot, like, I cannot figure it out. It's tough. It's a tough skill.
Whole other animal for sure.
Whole another animal, man. Hey, man. Yeah. Hey, it's been an absolute pleasure. What's the best way, if people are interested in ProLine, what's the best way to get connected with you? And after that, we'll ask you for some last words of wisdom to leave the viewers with.
Yeah. So useproline.com is our website, useproline.com. You can go on there, schedule a demo with our sales team. You can also find us on YouTube. ProLine app is our handle on YouTube.
You guys are pushing content. How many
tons
videos
of
you
video
guys
content.
Got? It's a ton. I forgot what it was, but
I think it's like over 1,000 or something.
1,000. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And we have we have videos of every feature, pretty much every feature. There's a few that we haven't gotten out yet, but most features have complete videos, so you can go through there, do a demo on your own essentially. But then you can get a demo from our sales team. You can also just, from our website, you can just create a free account. We have a free version of ProLine that's actually pretty useful. If you're just starting out, it's a place to organize your jobs and even generate quotes. You can't send them, but you can generate them and then print them out.
I'll tell you that's huge. The free trial is so cool, because for me, obviously, I set up software for contractors, and if they have a unique thing, I'm always trying to get my hands on it so I can figure out if it is the right tool for them. And usually you can tell based off the interface, the feel, the features. You can tell pretty quick if it's going to work for you. And so when they don't allow that, it sucks. So that is super huge. So thanks for doing that for contractors out there, because that's a big up for sure. Big benefit.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not even time-based. So you can be in there as long as you need to. And it has basic functionality. So if you're a brand new company, rather than sign up for some cheap CRM you're going to have to switch off of anyway, just use our free version. And then when you're ready, you can get all the other features later.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. That's super. So yeah, if you guys are just getting going, you guys can grow with ProLine, right? Just hop on there, start to learn the basics and whatnot, use the fundamentals. And then when you're ready, make the leap and just grow with them.
Yep, 100%.
Now, wisdom. Words of wisdom. What do you want to leave the viewers with, man? Hit me with something. What do you got?
Oh, man. Words of wisdom.
Get a mustache.
Yeah, the mustache is a game changer. It's a game changer. Yeah, it's if you can grow one, now is the time. It's Top Gun changed the game for mustaches. So now is the time if you've been thinking about growing a mustache.
Hey, my dad's mustache once in the last 50 years or something like that. So I'm all about it. Represent.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yeah, my actual words of wisdom. I've been thinking a lot about having like healthy. It's not work-life balance per se, but you got to decide for yourself how much are you willing to. Because when you're in business for yourself, this is true for contractors, true in software, services, whatever it is. It's easy. Your business will take everything you give it. It'll just drain you. And so you do have to know where that line is for you. And you don't have to have a typical work-life balance. It's going to be very hard in entrepreneurship. But it is important to draw the line of how much time is the time I'm going to give to my business, and how much time am I going to reserve for myself and or my family or my friendships and relationships. And so knowing where to draw that line is really important, I think, for longevity in business. This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately.
Yeah, well said. I couldn't agree more with something like that. I think about when I started my first company, first 2 years was basically all I did was work. And then the last 4 years of that was 8 to 4. And literally every day 8 to 4. And so now I'm starting another business because it's a sick addiction and there's something wrong with my head. Because I said that I would never ever go through the starting phase again. But here I am trying to make plays once again. It's just too much fun. But I have like a timeline for myself where I'm like, hey, I know in my head, this is how much time or the duration of time I'm gonna have to go where I'm working like this. And then once this happens, I'm gonna be able to go back to that, because like you're saying, it's just not sustainable. But that's also why you can look at tools like this with ProLine, because if they can automate stuff and get you your time back, it's 100% worth it. So every time that your company's growing, you should be thinking, what can I put in, or what money can I spend where it's going to give me more time back, or it's going to give me more money back, whatever it might be, because you can't last when you're going nonstop forever. So I appreciate it. Said AJ, and it's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure you guys are checking them out. At ProLine, like you said, start with the free trial, get a demo, check out the YouTube videos. But AJ, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
Thank you so much, Nick. Been tons of fun.